And a great big hey hi to hey to all my goofy goobers out there. Welcome back to Animanic Commentaries with C.Auzi and D.Fanatic. And joining us for the first time on this, and hopefully not the last, because he's a big animation buff. You might remember him from his MLP days, blogs like Derpy and the Doctor, or the Clone That Got Away, but mostly you should know him, or you definitely should now hopefully know him from the webtoon and original comic, just complete Think Inc. It wasn't on webtoon originally, but it is now. Think Inc. I think it's like 3 chapters, waiting on 4.
It's 4 chapters waiting on 5.
Ah, yes. I forgot there was a little okay, yeah. But yeah, it's great, it's funny, he does great art, you should definitely look at his stuff, I highly recommend it, and tonight we'll be watching the SWAN Princess 1994. Now, so, honey, you mentioned that you had this film growing up, yeah?
Yep, it was a childhood favorite of mine, and probably one of my favorite movies outside of the Disney canon.
What about you, Joey? What's your familiarity with this picture?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I had like some neighbors who I would regularly visit, and they had this on VHS, and I remember watching it once, and I don't remember much from it other than the songs and some of the animations and Frog, who is very horny. But other than that, and like I remember it being fine. Either way, it should be interesting.
I'd say my familiarity is exactly like yours, Joey. It's like I saw it like sometimes playing at a friend's house. Unlike you though, I never sat down with it. As I got older, I eventually found a few reviews before the Mr. Nostril critic handled it. Like I saw some reviews from other people, some speaking on it positively, others not so much. But
so when was the last time you watched it in full?
Oh, last time I watched it in full was probably like in the past 5 or 6 years. It's fun. It's fun. It's definitely.
Well, my memories are a lot fresher.
Yeah.
Oh, good grief! I just realized this movie is now 30 years old.
Oh God.
You're right. It is the 30th year. Damn.
30th anniversary.
And they're still
I am only 2 years. I am only 2 years.
Still pumping out direct-to-video sequels.
Yeah.
Or rather, direct-to-streaming sequels.
Like, why Swan Princess of all things? Did Sony just run out of franchises?
Okay. Only the 2nd and 3rd are worth watching.
Well, I think that's obvious because those were the ones made closest to the original.
Yes.
Is that how we generate the quality guide for movies like this? You just go based off of, okay, how close is it to the original? How many people actually put the...
Okay, the 2nd and 3rd are worth watching, and they stuck to the 2D animation style and didn't go to whatever CG nightmare they did.
That's definitely true. Now, as I finally got
it's not even good CG animation.
Now, as I've got the movie squared up, I want everybody to go ahead and get yourself set for synchronization. Get yourself set for synchronization. We're gonna synchronize the movie up now.
Synchronization. Get yourself set for synchronization. Get yourself set for synchronization.
I got paid to make these decisions. I got paid to make these decisions. All right, but yeah. So yeah, as you can see in the upper corner, which I should have had up the whole time, but I paused it for some reason. You can see where you can find access to this movie by any means necessary. Yar har fiddly dee. Tonight we will be watching pretty high quality. We're going off a Blu-ray. So the 25th anniversary edition. If you can find it, it's still like sold and still in print, so you're not gonna have to go searching eBay for some rare thing, which is great. But as long as everybody can follow along with the bouncing blurry image on screen, because animated films are notorious for having excellent color palettes, we will go ahead and start the film in a 3, a 2, a 1, and a skiddly biddly doo.
Do you have the sound on?
There's absolutely no sound in this opening logo for some reason.
Okay.
Not like...
Oh, okay. Nest.
Very
Nest?
apropos for a swan, wouldn't you say?
Okay, so this opening music, I used to be able to play the first few bars on the piano. Like, I do it on, like, the highest keys.
Yeah.
a Rich Animation Studios production. Oh, Richie Rich made this movie.
Essentially.
He got out of acting and got into the animation business for himself.
My name is Richard, but everyone calls me Dick.
This little piece of animation always stuck out to me as a kid.
The animation in this film is absolutely beautiful, and that's what I like to talk about on this. Got the animated sparkles, and that's the thing. Like, I think this is also like ink and paint on celluloid. By this point, Disney was doing all digital for their cleanup. I think even their background art was digital by this point. So this film being made at the time that it was well, basically nobody else had access to what Disney had. It was proprietary software created by Pixar. So for films from other studios, they kind of had to resort to what they still had, and what they still had that was more accessible than it is today is all the tools that you would make a classic animated film with, which kind of helps this film feel like the Disney film it wants to be. Honestly, doesn't do a terrible job at it. I think there's like a couple musical numbers I take a little issue with, but
yeah.
Other than that,
although this is loosely based off of Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake Ballet, a lot of this story kind of feels a lot of the story feels like it was taken off of Disney's version of Sleeping Beauty.
I mean, in a comparison to Sleeping Beauty, also ballet done by Tchaikovsky.
I know.
But for Disney, they actually ripped to the music from Tchaikovsky and wrote lyrics to it, whereas this movie does not go that route. I don't think there's a note.
Or an arranged marriage, and they don't agree with that marriage at first.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that. Yeah, that doesn't... I guess that really doesn't come from the original Swan story, doesn't it?
No. In the original story, the prince was out hunting, and they just happened upon this swan that
I gotta
into a
admit,
girl.
all this, again, this is really high quality. Like, for
they die
for
in
like
the
a
end of the
non-Disney...
original ballet, so... Spoiler alert.
In most fairy tales, the heroes die.
Not Rapunzel.
Not really.
They made it.
No, in most ballets.
Oh, ballets, yeah, definitely in the ballets. There was a ballet adaptation of Little Mermaid, just as it happens.
Like, they could just shoot him right now.
I mean, probably. But that's the thing, it's like showing...
but he's too good a guy.
Yeah, it's about the kindness. It's like having the armed guards there just, you know, for safety, in case he tries something. Here's a character design that also kind of sticks out. That little guy. I mean, he looks like an extra in Animaniacs. Which is a common misconception for this film, is that people sometimes think that this was a Warner Brothers joint. It was not. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Warner Brothers owns it now, but, like, they didn't make it.
No, I think it's currently Sony. Sony ended up with it somehow.
Did they end up with the rest of them as well?
And that is
with the
lovely Sandy Duncan.
Ah, yes.
That...
From My Little Pony fame for everybody who was watching this movie at the time it came out. Because My Little Pony would have only been like a decade ago. So it would have been pretty fresh.
Not that much. Like, only like 4
Sure,
years.
but like, you know, reruns and shit. And this opening number is one of the best songs in the whole show. So like, what a way to like start off with a real bang.
Yeah, this is one song I definitely remember. Faintly the chorus.
And also from like I was going on like when we were doing the Disney marathon about like the musical structure and being really fun with it, and this song basically does it just as well as any Disney movie. The rhyming is great, and the music is great. These songs will get stuck in your head.
And it's definitely something that you would do on stage.
It's beautiful. And also just the way they don't like each other at the start. It really is so much fun. Just open the show with this. The way they're wrestling in the background. there's some really good comedy. This would be a comedy musical. You know, Anastasia was brought to Broadway. This should be the next one that gets brought to Broadway for the animated musicals. That would be great for the stage. God, the background is beautiful.
Oh, yes, lovely art.
I have to imagine they had to paint the clouds on, like, glass or celluloid in order to get the clear look on that. And I love the different designs for them growing up. It's like that.
I remember when we watched this in German class. Willkommen.
But it's like, I kind of like how she does have a Pippi Longstocking, the blonde Pippi Longstocking.
Going through a tomboy phase.
It's also interesting to see her having like an awkward phase. Woof. They even get his best friend in on the number. And this is a cartoon. This is a comedy musical. It's so good. I think those people got hit with the crackle.
Those people were like frozen in the background.
Frozen in time.
Not these, but
honestly, they should let it go.
Hey, could you stop singing about our personal lives? I'm trying to read over here.
And now the kids are out of their awkward phase. A little bit. But they still don't like each other.
They're in the young teen phase.
That's weird.
That's such a good line. And I love that change. I love that change where she actually is having fun. Again, it shows that there is
messing with him.
It shows that the song has like a progression. Man, they really had to use the old techniques, and I can tell because of that weirdness. Like it's like, oh, there's a black line, but only on one side of them. It's where you have to mat it. It's like you have to create like a black and white image by using like a really bright.
On the slingshot.
Yep, you had to use like a black. You had to use like a bright white light in order to make like a silhouetted version, and that's the idea. It's a matte. It's like you can do the same thing in modern editing programs in the exact same way.
Speaking of Anastasia, this is the same singing voice.
Nice.
Oh.
I was figuring you'd say that because it does sound like her.
It's also Jasmine's singing voice in the second and third movie.
But not the first.
Liz Calloway.
And then, well, what do you know?
Oh my gosh, she's hot now.
Yeah, but she's focusing on his smiles. And, yeah. And he's thinking of the other thing.
But it's beautiful lyrics that portray
foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing. And also it captures how they feel about each other. It's like she can see inside him, but he talks surface level, like you said. Woo! It's great. Again, you also have the ensemble. Like, I think they really understood that this could, that maybe they were banking on that. Like, hey, if this movie does as well as any Disney film, which, I mean, we got some stellar songwriting talent or something.
I think I'm not sure, because I think it was around, like, Beauty and the Beast. I think it might have been about 1994, so.
Yeah, 1994.
This is definitely taken from like a few Disney movies. This dancing sequence.
I think more directly they got that out of Sleeping Beauty's book, because I think that was the first one to do like the background fades away and the characters obviously a more recent example would have been Beauty and the Beast, which probably would have been more readily available on VHS by this time. If you're trying to sync up the film there, Snowflake, just make sure you follow along with the blurry image. That's the whole, that's the whole idea.
The first time they do that kiss animation.
Yep. And again, they had to do the matte so that the background art could have been its own effect.
We've been on one romantic. We kissed each other once. That means we're gonna be married.
In fact, Disney was beaten to the punch, and it was done a lot better here, calling out the, quick romance. But of course, they've had their entire lives. But
yes, but
that's the point.
It's a quick sudden turn. Like, no. Like daddy.
Yep. Yeah, and all said without words there. Again, this film is good. That's great.
Yeah,
Again,
people give Derek a lot of flack, but
imagine
I like having a flawed prince. He's not perfect.
Yeah, it's way more fun. It's way more fun to have the characters have some kind of a vice.
Although the parents do kind of give up pretty quickly after that. Like, oh come on, like give him a minute. Like,
I mean, they spent
at least time to apologize.
I mean, the thing is, like, they spent a lifetime. They had their moment, and then the moment didn't last because he was such a dummy. Being a what do you call me? A dummy head. He's being a dummy head.
Head.
But you can feel it on stage. It's like as soon as Derek would say, "What else is there?" the entire ensemble would just groan and collectively slap their face palm.
Rogers.
I've always thought that the best friend looked like a second cousin of LeFou.
Yeah.
And he's totally
also
cheating.
Some of the best animation in the movie right here.
How to offend women in 5 syllables.
In
or
fact,
less.
my favorite bit of that
meme.
animation is the way he does the pop on B. You should write a book, and the way the air catches behind his lips is really great. So, like, kind of uppity,
Nice.
but he's also much smarter.
You lost your queen, Derek.
Seriously, I love him. And again, that's a funny little side joke. Actually, I give up.
You don't
All of
always
the
express
animation
yourself
on
perfectly either.
all of the animation on Rogers is great in this scene. It's just
The fact that he got checkmate while his friend was cheating.
well, I mean, his friend was cheating, so he probably didn't know he accidentally set himself up for checkmate.
Oh.
It's like, if you have to cheat at chess, what are you doing? Don't play
Also,
chess.
he really took his time planning his revenge, didn't he?
Well, because he had to wait for something, which is kind of creepy.
Yep. I had to leave
I mean,
so that I didn't.
Agree, he's creepy.
I had to leave so it didn't look like grooming.
Okay, I wasn't gonna say it. You
now
did,
I
though.
remember.
You
Now
were
I
gonna say
remember
it.
that part of the movie. Ugh.
And we don't get to see a good shot of it now, which is probably the best for, a little bit of, like, set it up and then it's like, oh, what is that? And then you actually get to see it later. But the design of the Great Beast is actually pretty cool, honestly. It's pretty simple, but it's also pretty good.
He appears to be a Batman of sorts. Wait a minute.
No, that'd be Man-Bat. I highly doubt they went that way, but it's probably a shortcut. I can imagine them taking that path now. It's like, hold on tight, Your Majesty, we're gonna jump.
Like, I'm here too,
It's really sad that he doesn't make it, because I do love this king's design.
Yeah.
You know what's really great? I was just about to make an Alice in Wonderland comparison, but more directly, he does kind of look like a playing card in a way. Like, not like, but I mean, like, he could be the king on a cartoon playing card. It's just got that kind of simplified, angular kind of look. but very bouncy and animated.
I
think you get the idea of what I'm trying to say.
Which makes me wonder who is taking care of William's kingdom during all this debacle.
They formed a democracy in the middle of the movie.
Now I need that in betwinkle. The Rosencrantz.
They did, and then when Odette comes back, like, this is awkward.
The Rosencrantz up.
And it ends up being like
the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern of Swan Princess. I was gonna say Swan Lake. I always keep wanting to say Swan Lake because it's easier to say. It's 2 syllables.
Mm.
But we do have a swan and we do have a lake, so technically.
Maybe everyone just left the palace in the middle of the kingdom in the middle of the movie. Like, well, let's go somewhere else.
I mean, they're probably gonna go out like searching for the princess because the king is dead. We have the body, but the princess could still be alive, so they're probably gonna mount a search. One would think. Oof.
I'm pretty sure it does. Ugh.
I guess I really went all out for this role.
Oh yeah. And again, his design is really great. His plan is a little gross.
Somebody call the royal police.
I mean, considering histories, there have been younger brides in the royal families.
To say the least.
So, for the time, his endeavors are pretty normal.
Though I wonder if he. Now this is kind of nitpicky, and I hate the fact that I'm even saying this. But does it work with any lake or just this specific lake? I hate that I said that. It's a fairy tale. It shouldn't be so complicated.
I'm just wondering, like, well, how long does it take for her to get to a neighboring kingdom?
I think it's not particular, like, because he said, of course, you have to be on the lake, and if the moonlight touches her wings, so that gives her a reason to not leave. Yep.
But and like, what if it's the only lake in the area as well? Again, I hate that I'm even saying this.
Pretty clear enough.
Like, she could clearly just make a bunch of noise whenever, like, a carriage comes along and be like, hey, I'm over here, I was cursed.
Well, yeah, again, the problem is the animals don't...
Clearly you don't remember the second half of this movie.
Yes, I don't remember much about this movie again. I haven't seen it in a while.
I love that dialogue there. Rogers gets a lot of good lines. I think the song was at least good, worth it for that pun. Okay, that's a good... Again, like, they were smart, like, given an ensemble number for these specific characters. It's like, and the whole reason they're even doing this is because he's... The whole reason they're doing this is because he's trying to think of, like, what the king said. Great beast. Gotta be able to take on any beast.
Even if it's a bunny rabbit.
That's the most vicious rodent you ever laid eyes on. Again, that was also... This movie's good. We're gonna get to the songs I don't like eventually, but, like...
I mean, the point of this is to show how good he is at shooting a bow.
Nice.
This is how they gossiped back in the old days, through song.
Playing the tea.
Oh, God. And you can also, these massive instrumental breaks would also work on stage. All right, Bugs. Though I guess he's blue, so more be Buster.
Again, he tries to cheat.
Again. Well. I think he's late. It may not have much to do with anything, but this brief moment.
See, once again.
Yep.
even when his friend cheats, he still wins.
Yep. Because he's really bad at cheating. I love Roger's animation! Whoever's animating those lip sync moments, like when he's on close-ups, really good.
You can tell that the animators for that character specifically really enjoy.
They were having
doing
fun. He's just chewing this up.
He is not
he's having fun.
Yeah, again, he's like Grimsby, but funnier.
What's his name again?
Rogers. Lord Rogers, even.
Rogers, yeah.
So
Rogers.
he's got land. Good for him. He's just trying to see how quick he can do it. This is also set up for later. Which is great. Because again, it's like, again, these scenes seem like, oh, this is kind of a waste of time, but it's like, no, they do decide to actually bring this back. Well, I think Robin Hood has to turn in his archery license, like, at that point. Grazed your skull cap, but you'd still be fine.
he really just loves tormenting.
Loves choosing him.
Tormenting Brom.
I also love when, actually, I'm thinking about it now, when he was telling Rogers about her, and then he couldn't find the words, it's like, that almost makes sense. It's like, he can't find the words. That's part of his problem.
And if I had a nickel for every time John Cleese voiced a frog, I'd have 2 nickels.
And if I had a nickel for every time John Cleese was French, I might have more than 2 nickels. I don't know what else he did on the Monty Python, like, Flying Circus or whatever. If he ever did French again.
I know that the actor for the tortoise, he's very famous for doing, like, that slow, monotonous voice.
Well, I mean, like, Ben Stein for fuck, what is this guy's name?
I know he was in the Emoji Movie. I know that
Stephen
doesn't
Wright.
help, but
much like
his name.
Much like Ben Stein, Stephen Wright here has the same, like, that's just his voice. That's what he sounds like. He even uses it for his, like, stand-up comedy.
Yeah. So no wonder they made him a turtle.
Yep. I guess if you were gonna make the most family-friendly joke with this character, it would be making him a turtle and making him real slow. It makes me wonder why Stephen Wright has never played Eeyore or something.
Nah, maybe not deep enough.
Well, no, his voice can get deeper. I mean, he sounds like Eeyore already. It's not too far off. They were both in Son of the Mask. Well, ain't that the duo you want? Nope. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It's great.
I mean, that's a lot of like requirements there.
It's a lot of, again, I think it's mostly poetry. Again, in the fairy tale sense, it's like the world is, well, I mean, when you hear the world in the terms of like old biblical and like old world speak, it's just Europe. They didn't think there was anything else. Just Europe, Asia, and like the rest of the world was just empty, or it was flat.
Yeah.
One of the
it's
two.
one thing to say I love you. It's another thing to
actually love someone. Yeah, you can say
Well,
it.
I'm just thinking, like, does that mean like the prince has to go to every kingdom in Europe and be like, I love Odette?
No, it's
I love
more like
Odette.
the world. The world, quote unquote,
guys,
is.
I love this song so much, and you're talking over it.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
We did definitely need a ballad. It works.
Honey bunny, I
Yeah.
love you.
Well, I love you too.
Aw, and I love myself, I guess.
You always should. Just a great number. Got to use this background art again.
Recycle.
I also do love the way they're... I mean, this one's okay, but I love the other ways they were representing them being separate, but not, like, apart. Or, alternatively, how they're together, but apart. Honestly, you could phrase it either way. It means the same thing.
It's like we're together but apart.
Oh, I love you.
Well, at least I'm not under a spell that turns me into Swan.
Not yet. Don't jinx it.
I'm under a spell that turns me into a dog. That's why I look like this.
Not just a dog, a Muppet dog.
Oh no, I've always been a Muppet.
Ah, okay. Well, I guess that answers the man or Muppet question. Oh, man. But yeah, it is a very nice number. It's a very... poor Puffin. Yeah, you were mentioning Puffin. Puffin? Puffin.
You know, I think they would think it's strange.
I mean, puffins
Puffins aren't native to this area.
Puffins are Arctic. Or Antarctic.
Yeah.
One of the two. Man, look at her go. Yep. Yeah. Huh. Mm-hmm. I do like these fun little characters.
Jump up to the nah.
John Bob is very, very French.
Aren't all frogs French?
I mean, that's an affectionate nickname that the British give the French. So, yes. well, affectionate. They weren't like, whatever. You didn't do that, did you?
Like, then the flowers come over. He's like, wait, did I do that?
Now wait just a darn minute. We haven't even signed the papers.
Okay. So you remember my Bride of Discord thing? This is where I got that one bit from.
Okay.
I can imagine. Ah. That might be the most insane. That must have been the most over the top like line read in this whole movie here, from this guy anyway. Man.
You think he did this over the top laughing every time she turned back into a swan just to rub it in?
Maybe it's a reflex. Maybe even when he's not at the lake and she turns into a swan, he's just like, I don't know why I laughed. Yep.
She's a boy.
Yep. Again. And why would he need to marry? Isn't this like the patriarchy? Shouldn't a man just get to be king on his own?
Yeah, yes, but a king also needs a queen so they can produce an heir.
Okay,
and
well,
pretty much cements their.
We're operating by Shrek rules here.
Oh, and speaking of which, in terms of taking from other Disney films, this takes from Cinderella, where she's plotting to have every eligible maiden at the ball. That was some good facial animation there on the troubadour steward, whatever he is. Right now, he's the mailman.
Sandy Duncan. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
I just realized they never do produce an heir. They adopt one, but they don't produce one.
Yeah, I heard of that.
Well, sequels be damned. We were not regarding sequels. We didn't regard the Tangle series when we talked about Tangle. We're not regarding sequels. We're taking the movie
okay,
out of
I
terms.
did. He didn't.
The Tangle series is good, man.
It is.
Thank you.
But it's not technically canon when we're talking about the one thing.
Oh, okay. Okay. I consider the first canon. There we go.
Oh. I love that animation. Oh my god.
Yeah. Whereas this was the interactions the Cinderella prince should have had with his dad.
I do love how none of the humans look boring, because that was a problem the Disney films had for a while. Because
again, this is definitely more.
Of a few,
this is definitely more akin to like a Cinderella era Disney film, like the classics where you really had the comedy characters and had the very interesting designs.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can't necessarily not say that about like Beauty and the Beast. Aladdin, everyone was a cartoon character.
Yeah. Everyone is a toon.
Okay,
here.
now this is pointless. Yep. Whoops.
That brings up a good question. How long has it been since, like, she's been cursed?
Well, you know what? At least less than a month because of something he says later.
This is another song I remember clearly.
I mean, I like that she's actually trying to get out of her situation and not just waiting around the whole time.
Again, the lyrics are absolutely stellar. Like, this is like as far as the musical goes, they got really good.
Wordplay. Yeah, that wordplay there.
And that is definitely not John Cleese. Again, the lines are so good. David Zippel is the singing voice. All right.
David Zippel, same guy who worked on the Mulan songs.
That David Zippel, most likely. Oh, mean David Zippel for the lyrics. That makes sense. A whole book for swan spells. I love it. That's a good gag. That's a good visual.
Oh, wait, was that Space Ghost in the pictures?
I think it was.
Probably.
I'm not sure.
Like, it looked like Space Ghost, I swear.
No, Singer of the Frog and Hercules producer. Okay.
Anyway,
David Zippel was on Hercules, wasn't he?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I messed. Yeah.
But that would explain it. Hercules, that's like, that would definitely be where the lyrical style is more similar, I'd say. Oof. You can't say they're not having fun. And this is one of those things that would be definitely hard to do as a Broadway musical. Like, what are you going to have everyone in animal costumes doing this bit? I mean, you could, but...
I think they'd probably go with puppets.
They could. And it's one of those things that works. He did do Mulan as well. Okay. I guess the reason I think it's more similar to Hercules is because Hercules also put a lot of cartoon comedy in their lyrics as well to match the tone of the film.
Schaumburg, that's quite a name.
Is that French or?
It looks Latin to me.
Ah, that makes sense. Theoretically. Yep.
It could even be
a itsy teensy little fly.
I was gonna say it could even be an apple that you're eating.
Oh.
It could even be you. It could even be me.
It could be anyone in this room.
It could even be Squidward's house.
Oh, God. Good Lord. All right. I have only decided to point it out just now, but again, it's been a long time since I've been able to point out celluloid drop shadow on the background art. And it's beautiful. It is gorgeous. I love when I can see.
Yeah, there's a reason why a lot of modern productions like try to find ways to recreate that look.
I think Has Been Hotel is one of the more recent ones to actively do so, aside from the Cuphead show, which did it for very obvious reasons.
I think also the Looney Tunes show.
The Looney Tunes show did it for the first season.
Did that.
I think their biggest problem with it is that they made the blur too soft on it, so it didn't really capture the same effect. So it was just kind of this blurry black void behind them, and it didn't really capture what they were going for. Oh, but new Looney Tunes on, like, HBO or Max definitely did it with their more classic look. At least in a few shorts. But yeah, I think there is a big difference when it's naturally occurring. And yes, for this being a Blu-ray copy, I do love the film grain. Seriously, bring back film grain to animated movies as well. It's just so pretty.
I would just like an art book of this movie because the backgrounds here are
also
gorgeous.
True. Sadly, probably doesn't exist, but man, wouldn't it be great? It'd be great to have something like that. Because, like, I want to see, like, how did they stumble on these cartoony character designs? Like, what were their first pass and whatnot? Dragonfly means dragon, theoretically.
Yeah, so... Yes, original ballet. The prince was out hunting. He chased after a swan, and then when the moon came out, the swan became a girl.
You know, a classic love story. Boy meets swan. Boy tries to kill swan. Swan turns into girl. Boy stops trying to kill swan.
Yeah, eventually.
And then boy marries the swan.
Boy marries girl.
Well,
I mean, that'd be interesting.
I mean, why not? Zeus
I'm
did
in
it
love
the
with
other
a
way.
bird. Bob, Dad, I'm attracted to birds.
I'm done. Although I wonder if Tchaikovsky came up with the idea based on the Zeus turning into a swan myth.
One can wonder.
Oh.
Just the tiniest little booger.
This poor mouse.
Yeah.
Mouse like, I just wanted to get some cheese.
Yeah. Poor guy.
I can't believe I turned down work in the Tom and Jerry movie to be in this.
What is it, like Brahm? I keep forgetting what his name is.
Bromley. Brom for short.
And the glint of her wings.
Oh, that's good lighting effect.
Yep.
Especially
again, they had
for,
to
like, cells.
Yeah, because they have to do the classic effects, kind of like what the Bluth and his people had to do for the Secret Enemy. You have to overexpose the character. You have to overexpose the camera, and you're actually getting like a lens flare, like a real lens flare. And to do that on purpose in a controlled environment. And they also had to use mats for that as well.
He really jumped to conclusions there. Like, it could have just been a swan.
I was sure, but maybe it was the fact that it was a swan with golden glints on the ends of its feathers. That's not necessarily natural.
Well, when he said this one's for our dead, he kind of meant it literally.
Again, the dialogue is clever too. This film is really well put together. Have you now? Yep. Smart. Super smart.
Smart board.
It's like thinking, Puffin. What about now?
You just had to open your beak, didn't you?
Ah, shit.
Like, if this was a more cartoony movie, immediately after he said that, the son would have been like, what?
It's like, we just had to stay in the sun. It's like, oh no, you didn't. It's just, phew.
No, you'll be a dead swan and a dead buffin.
I love actually read substitutions for blood. Oh, that was stellar.
Doing it though, man.
Yeah. Bugs Bunny has done this a lot. Red ink, tomatoes, catsup.
Like putting on angel costume.
Well, look at what we got now. I love that. That's great.
Is that a fog moving some fireflies?
Hallelujah. It's calculated risk. Gotta do what you do.
I mean, he's here. You don't do it. He'll never know it's you.
Hit the lake. Hit the lake. It's the moon off
Yes,
your
but-
wings.
I mean, technically the moonlight is still there.
Ah, shit. If you're gonna do that, just steal his quiver of arrows or something.
Fish again.
Just a moment.
Oh look, here's that animation.
She's smiling at the end.
Wait a moment. I love that look.
Oh geez, I've had too much to drink.
I mean, give him some credit. He did come all the way out here to try to find her.
Whoops. Yeah, name.
He can do things.
Yeah. Good answer.
We aren't very clear on the rules.
And the fact that it is actually a challenge for him because he's not good with words.
Exactly. And again, their whole world, their whole world is their kingdom. Everything the light touches is the world. You know, it's like it's poetic. It's not literal.
But what about that shadowy part?
I mean, we could have a few people over from there if they want to come, but you know, they're kind of rude. They're kind of obnoxious. I don't know. Certainly not the frog. Unless your magical wizard powers allow you to hear animals. But yeah. Ooh, boy.
He's no idiot.
He's definitely 5 steps ahead.
Well, yeah, we thought you were pretty stupid.
You don't even know the half of that one. Well,
I've blown it up.
Lest we forget.
Have been about a month at most for a full moon cycle.
That's true.
If this hasn't happened before.
It's true. Unless there's some kind of freak eclipse happening, because the other day when we last saw her prove to someone like it was a full moon. So yeah, been a while.
It would be,
but also artistic,
also
artistic license.
It would be funny if it turned out there was an eclipse tomorrow, in the movie, and like, oh, geez, I didn't think of that.
Yeah, but if it was an eclipse, that means the moon would.
There's another movie where the eclipse
be out in about an hour or so.
It's a factor in a spell. I'll tell you about later.
Yep.
Take a lot of work.
Yep. And again, it doesn't matter if the girl in front of him is not Odette, even if he used their names. Again, it's all poetic. It's about like her being there. He's obviously referring to the woman who looks like Odette, because again, he can't see anything past her beauty. It's really smart. Oh wow. Okay.
Oh no, it's like we're on the bad side of Twitter.
Yeah, and that lyric is probably, this... Also for the wizard, like, I don't hate the idea of him having a big jazz number, especially with this voice, but it's still one of the weirder choices. Not my favorite.
One of the weirder songs.
Hold on a minute. Well, if they didn't do any rotoscoping, they definitely used some pretty good live-action reference for some of the dances. Almost there. There we go.
She looks good in black, though.
And they dress her in black in reference to the Black Swan role in the ballet. Because in the ballet, the White Swan and the Black Swan are played by the same dancer.
I'm just gonna do his whole shtick. That is pretty funny. That's a pretty good line. Pretty clever. But even that fountain wasn't in the... Oh, it was in the castle. That was really clever using the women for the fountain. Yeah, he sounded
like he had fun.
I'm starting to think that he's gonna...
animal appropriation?
It sounds like they're playing something akin to Bubbles in the Wine. wonder if he used that word correctly. Rubato. Yeah, he's really...
Derek is getting his goofy face.
He's having fun.
Yeah, you left him in the woods, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Winkety wink, wink, wink. That was a really well animated gag. I dig it.
You know her.
I think you're really gonna like this one, Mother.
Ugh.
So, question: is it established if like the humans can understand the animals in this film?
I think it's implied that they can't. I don't even think Jean-Claude's a real prince. I think he's just a frog who confused himself for a prince.
Oddly enough, in the second and third movie, the animals are able to talk to the people. So,
well, they don't make it
and
clear.
the queen's like, "Oh, I'm being saved by animals."
They don't make it clear either way in this one, so it's kind of up to interpretation.
Like, does this apply?
I mean, it makes sense if Odette. It makes sense if Odette understands the animals
because she is
like, you know, the rules.
Because the
if you're turned
transformation.
into an animal, you can understand them.
Yep.
Kind of like how Tiana understands the animals.
Yeah.
Yeah, are we going by Looney Tunes rules or Princess and the Frog rules?
We're going by whatever rules that come up in any given
Considering
scene.
the fact that Odette never talks to Rothbart as a swan, I think it was meant that no, she can't talk in this form. At least to humans.
Because that would like end the movie pretty quickly if she would easily go, "Hey, Derek, it's me. I'm Odette."
Yeah, because if she could talk, it's like, oh god, a talking swan.
I guess it was the original intention. Then the second and third movie kind of took that out the window.
They decided to throw that away. But again, this movie is really solidly written, solidly put together. Like all of their poetic.
As long as you go by fairy tale logic, which is very little logic.
Well, no, fairy tale logic is emotional. There is definitely logic behind it. It's just not your fully grounded reality.
This song I definitely remember. Princess is on Parade.
This is fun. But in ye old pseudo-historical setting, would they know the word planet? That's my question.
It's a cartoon.
They actually would.
Good to know.
I mean,
I feel
up
like
until Galileo, they knew or up to Saturn existed.
But the word planet, like specifically.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they had 6 planets, I think, around at this point. Or
he's the Chamberlain. Okay.
Yeah, honey. If they knew that the Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and all that existed, then yes, planet.
Okay, that's fair. Because I just think it's one of those things where it helps set the tone and like the environment when you use any given words in a musical.
I mean, they don't look medieval. They look more like maybe like 17th or 6th or 18th century.
Yeah, same kind of vibe. Well, I mean, it kind of looks like Sleeping Beauty, and in Disney's version, and that said, after all, this is the 14th century, which would be the 1300s.
Anyway, yes, by the time Galileo introduced this theory that the sun was the center of the universe, they discovered up till Saturn.
Welcome to our commentary on a cartoon movie where we go
Planet was used as early as 6 BC.
He was asking about the word planet. Like, yes, they had astronomers. Not the best astronomers, but they had astronomers.
Yes or no would have been fine. we had a little bit of a side tangent there. But yeah, Princess on Parade is fun. I love it. Just a brief little reprise. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love the lighting on the castle, by the way.
Yeah, I think they were definitely inspired by Disneyland for that one.
Here it is, Princesses on Parade.
Here it is. Listen to this show tune. This is definitely like a play on the Hollywood talkies and shit.
And of course, beauty pageants.
That too.
The Miss America.
Yep. This is absolutely delightful. A pawn to rhyme with on. Again, I probably wouldn't have thought of that.
That's admirable.
So if he's gonna prove it to the world, they've got literal princesses from all over the world. That's gotta count for something.
Ah, that makes sense.
Oh, okay.
What? That's kind of weird. She has armor on her eyelids.
It's an aesthetic kind of thing.
I mean, if women are willing to put silicone in their faces.
And the animation on the like singer guy is really good.
And the princesses too. Gotta keep in mind, even if there were instances where they, duplicated the animation, that's still like they have to do multiple cells when they're on screen at the same time.
And all of these sparkles.
And of course, yeah, and the lens flare too. And it looks really good. They made it nice and sharp.
Did this studio do anything besides Swan Princess after this?
Rich Productions, I am not or Nest. Probably a few things. Mostly Swan Princess sequels, I assume. Just absolutely delightful.
Okay, looking it up, they also did The King and I.
Oh, that animated movie.
version.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see that in the character designs.
Ooh.
The original Swan Princess sequels, and then later, they did the Glitter Engine that could. No, wait, no, that's a later version.
Oh.
And also, Alpha and Omega, and Norm of the North.
Oh, goody gumdrops.
No.
Oh, Nest.
How the mighty have fallen.
I was gonna say the exact same thing.
Half of Alpha and Omega was good.
The Scarecrow. Oh, I watched someone's review of it.
It went straight to TV, so it wasn't a lot of attention. But you'll see the animation style is very similar.
Yep. Because, if she couldn't see it, and he's only just now realizing. Because you don't expect it's the superhero secret identity thing. It's like you can't see someone who's right in front of you, when they
Yeah.
you can't see someone who's right in front of you if you're not looking for them. If you think they're dead, you're not looking for them.
Rothbart's little witch lady. She was smart enough not to talk too much, right?
Too true, because like if she said anything, but also again, like it also helps that the prince is really mostly focused on beauty.
I mean, not like that's going to be his first thought, that somebody's going to be disguised,
no,
looking exactly like the one he loves.
Yeah, the VA for Derek was the Phantom of the Opera on Broadway for 6 years? That's awesome. In you go.
The old leatherheads. Oh.
Don't stop now.
These
going.
are some fun gators.
Howard McGillen. I mean, when he hits the water, it's just boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, that's the thing about turtles. They're built for swimming, not for land.
Yeah. Still a difference with the tortoise or turtle. I can't tell which he is, though.
Maybe he's a mix of both. Like his mom was a turtle and his dad was
like
a tortoise.
Box turtle. He does look kind of squared off-ish. Here we go. Yep. Can't talk. Because otherwise she'd say something.
Oh no! A swan!
Off they go. My name is Francis Pump Handle, but everyone calls me Pip. Well, it looks like everything seems to be going well for all intents and purposes.
And she got the necklace that Rothbard took, so. Yeah, he did say, like, something about you seems different. So he was starting to notice, like, something seems different.
Seems a little odd here. Seems a little strange. But, you know.
I used to think she said a bow of everlasting love, so I got really confused as a kid.
Yep, just take a bow in front of your audience.
Yeah, so I thought, like, oh no, he did the bow.
Aw, she's really happy. To which his heart, mind, body, and soul are going straight to a fake. Just bat your eyes. Oh boy.
Makes you wonder why she does that. Why she doesn't just honk.
Oh.
Honk.
Anything. Shit.
It's not gonna be hurt at that distance.
I guess you're right.
This ain't gonna be good.
Well, he didn't say to this woman right here.
No,
he just said to Odette.
No, he said Odette, knowing full well who he was referring to, which is the woman, the love of his life right there, right?
Which is probably why she doesn't die immediately.
I mean, you say that, but... Derek, you useless Brussels sprout. Thank you, Blueheart. That's a great sentence.
Come on, give him a break. They really went out of the way to make sure he wouldn't know the difference.
It's you, the you.
Yeah? You did, you fool.
Yep. Isn't all death everlasting death?
Yep, and... Yeah, this movie definitely had...
Hideous.
Yeah, this movie definitely had a lot of Looney Tunes in it. Again, if you could see past her beauty and feel something about her heart... That's an understatement. Did he ever establish anything? I mean, she's just... I mean... And then... Right? That's about it. That's all. He's really bad with words.
I think those branches in the previous scene might have been CGI. Either that or really good rotoscoping.
Well, the moon's not out. We all know that's true.
Well, maybe she just feels more comfy in water.
Na 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 na.
Yeah, isn't that great? Well, that tears it. She's dead. She wasn't on the lake with the moonlight, so yeah, she's dead. You made a terrible, terrible mistake, sir.
A very big boo-boo.
Can we get some Aquaphor?
Can we get some F's in the chat?
That we can get. Yeah, well, the only one who gives a shit is the sorcerer who cast the spell in the first place, dingus.
I mean, he's really proving it now.
I didn't think necromancy was going to be the path forward. Damn, look at this thing.
It's the same director as the Fox and the Hound, so it looks kind of like the bear in that.
It does kind of look like the bear, except with green medieval magic lighting.
It's a bear wolf.
It's a werewolf It's a werewolf harpy dragon bat thing.
I mean, it sounds like a hawk.
That's the harpy bit. The chicken legs on that thing.
That's good sword.
Hey, nobody thought that would come back later. Way to fucking go.
Yeah. It's like Puffin was paying attention to her in the movie.
Didn't your mother ever tell you not to play with your food?
Well, he wants to give him at least a bit of a chance.
There you are. Whoop, there we go. Splash some cold water on his face. You need something. There we are. Oh, God. No splash, Captain.
We need more villains that explode. When was the last time?
Came through as well.
He didn't even break the surface tension. That was actually impressive.
I miss the days when we had exploding villains.
Now this is the vow that counts.
Yeah, he's finally found the words. I'm just really, really, really bad with words. And honestly, his plea out loud to basically no one, like yelling at the sky, "Do you hear me?" kind of proves that a vow to the world isn't necessarily to the people, it's to your truest heart. And honestly, that's kind of beautiful. I'm kind of tearing up right now. This is a fun movie. It's really fun. And I lied. Evidently, there's really only one song that bothers me, and it's the villain song. Even that one's not bad, technically.
Oh, it's the most forgettable one.
Yeah, you're right. I'm trying to think of the melody, and it's like, no more Mr. Nice Guy. That's about all I can think of, and it was very jazzy.
All I remembered is, I intend to eat their lunches.
Yeah, but I think that melody line is like kind of a standardized thing that you hear in a lot of songs even. Oh, God. One last gag. I do think that, from what I have seen, there is a romance between those two in one of the sequels, and honestly, yeah, I buy it. They definitely set it up all the way back in this movie. They just never got to.
Widow,
yeah, they just never got to do much with it.
Kingdom.
I mean, they didn't get to do anything with this movie because, you know. Okay, that CGI water is not bad. I mean, it's very 90s, but it's not bad.
Yeah, it's 94. Very obvious.
Keep that in mind.
Obvious, but not bad. I think it is used pretty decently integrated.
Still talk to the animals.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God.
Maybe it's about being brought back to life because she dies as a swan. I don't know. Okay, love the sound effects there. That's great.
And I think it would be another 15 years before we get the Princess and the Frog.
Yep. I'm stunned.
Oh, wait for it.
Yeah, this is also a pretty good cartoon gag.
Yeah.
Tap is not the same cake.
It would be really, 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 really fucking funny if Speed was actually a prince who had a curse put on him.
And maybe he just likes still being a turtle.
Yeah. It's not the life I was born into, but it's the life I love.
Yeah, like, like she gives him a kiss, like, poof, like, wait, you were human this whole time? Yeah.
Well,
can you kiss me again so I can be a turtle? Why do you want to be a turtle so bad? Turtles don't have to pay taxes.
I've also been around for 100 years. Turtles are very, very sturdy.
Okay, now the water is really obvious.
It is reflecting the castle well, though, so they didn't do bad at it. Waterfall's kind of flat, though.
I mean, looks like they were just trying to make a picturesque ending scene.
Yeah. And wait, maybe it might even be CGI. It might actually be real footage of water that, again, they're putting mats and masks on. Honestly, your guess is as good as mine. But, bravo, this is a very, very nice movie.
This tune so much. I managed to figure out the opening notes on the piano.
It is just...
That movie was a lot better than I remember. I think I'll have to pick up the Blu-ray of this one.
I think this, and there's something else that's trying to come to the tip of my tongue.
And it wouldn't, David Zippel. And it wouldn't be a 90s animated movie without
with a
R&B rendition of the main ballad. Yeah.
Yeah, without a pop version
Jack Palance as Rothbart. Howard McGillen as Prince Derek. Again, Broadway talent. They really were like taking the Disney thing. Michelle Nicastro. Sung by Liz Calloway. Oh, look at that. That's a really nice way of crediting it. John Cleese as Jean Bob. Stephen Wright as Speed. Stephen
Vinovich, I believe.
Vinovich.
Mark Harlick as Lord Rogers. James Arrington as Chamberlain. Sung by Davis Gaines. I didn't think we got a lot of his vocals, like, or at least not stand out. Joel McKinnon Miller as Bromley. Dakin Matthews is King William. And Sandy Duncan is Queen Uberta. And Brian Nissen is so he's the screenwriter and the narrator. Young Derek Youngadet, musician, and the Hag. With the character design, Stevie Gordon. I gotta look at what else he did just for character design for, because it's good. It's good design.
Yeah, good stuff.
Not entirely sure what Blue Sketch refers to. Oh, Blue Sketch probably refers to, like, the literal color of the pencil. Okay, animation director Stevie Gordon as well. The supervising animator for... Stevie Gordon was the supervisor? Okay, I gotta know who the supervising animator for Rogers is. Who was the lead on that character? This got me just because I love his animation. And the thing is that the supervising animator, the lead animator.
Oh, Dan Haskett worked on this.
Gary Perkovic and also Colm Duggan.
You're right, Blue Heart. Odette has been revived by necromancy more than once in the entire franchise. You were right.
Well, technically that'd be the first bars of Tale as Old as Time, but it does kind of sound like that. I gotta give credit.
How did I never noticed that? Like, na 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 na. Oh my God, they're right.
It's just right there, the opening notes of every line there. Again, good artists, great artists steal is the thing I've heard. The cleanup animation, the keys. I gotta imagine what's the ink and paints department look like for this film. 2 animators on Rogers. They both did stellar, guys. I love Rogers. He's absolutely brilliant. So much fun. And this film overall is just really stellar. Like, I could say what I want, but there's probably someone out there who actually thinks that Rothbart's song is like their favorite song. And honestly, I don't blame you. I like jazz. I just don't think the song was well thought out, like in terms of the plot.
It sounds like he had fun.
Oh, he did.
You know, when I was a kid, I liked, you know, when I was feeling rebellious, I went, "No more, Mr. Nice Guy."
I'll be honest. No, it's like, it's good. It's not bad. I just don't particularly. I think it was well thought out in terms of the story, with every other song being pretty well put together. Yeah, King William, Princess, and the Great Animal, and Rothbart's second unit. That's for the in-betweens and keys. This is all the cleanup. God, can we get to inks and paints? Okay. What about the casting director? I don't think I saw the casting director. We got to give props to them because they did a stellar job. And it didn't look like there was an alternate singing voice given to ink and paint department. Here we go. All right, we got the post-animation supervisor, the animation check, Xeroxography. Wow, okay, yeah. The model and scene coordinator, color models, paint lab. God, so many model painters. So much. And airbrushing. So give credit to that for anything that looked like it had a soft shading thing. Like the splashes in the water. Those are very beautiful when they painted them like that. That was really nice.
First thing it looks like. Notice all the Korean names.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Yeah, like overseas supervisors. So some of this work was probably like sent.
Well, you know.
I guess probably some of the coloring.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, do the animation, send it over, and then just have their delicate hands working on the inks and paints. Or the very least,
a lot of non-Disney studios did that back in the day to save cost.
Well, Disney actually did outsource some of like the pencil to paper animation in some of the 90s films. I saw an animator on Instagram who posted like their original take on the introduction of Jane from Tarzan, and he was with a different studio, not at Disney in Anaheim. He wasn't even at like the Paris or Florida studio. He wasn't at a Disney studio at all. So they've been outsourcing for some time. I can't think of the first movie they would have outsourced on. I'd have to go looking into it. Senior marketing, Bob Barrett. Did I miss casting director?
I think you might have.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, they often do casting director right before the cast.
I mean, they did. I mean, they had the cast like front and center, and then they had like a brief cast list of the rest. I probably missed it like after those guys. Scene planning, video testing coordinator, camera supervisors. I'm just.
Video testing.
Foley,
90s.
ADR voice casting.
There you go.
Casting associate. Okay. Well, give credit to those people.
Character Builders Inc. That was the studio that was run by Jeff Smith, who is best known as the cartoonist who created Bone.
Digital scene enhancements. Angst animation post-production. Choreographers, dancers.
That's one of the most emo names for animation
Special
studio,
thanks to Prudential Equity Investors, Inc., Mark Rossi, John Hackett Mutual Life Insurance, Nations Bank. Well, a lot of fucking sponsors. Take me out to the ball game. Oh, one of the characters did sing that as a gag.
No. You remember when they did the baseball thing?
Yeah.
For like a bar.
Yeah. You gotta give credit for that sort of thing. Made at Rich Studios in Burbank, California, a division of Nest Entertainment. Excellent job.
Yes.
Excellent job.
Yep.
Alcon.
And you know, the story is very, very simple in fairy tale format, but they presented so well.
They did a good job.
And unlike when Disney tackled fairy tales in the traditional sense, starting from their first 3 princess movies, they didn't give enough time to both the male and female leads. But here it feels like the attention given to the male and female leads were pretty balanced.
Yeah, like you know, you could say like, oh, they didn't spend enough time with each other as adults, but at the same time, they spent nearly every summer with each other growing up.
They were literally
but
childhood best friends. They knew each other their whole lives, so if they
best frenemies to lovers,
best frenemies to lovers, because they really, especially when they got into the play fights.
No, what I meant is that usually you have like, you know, you're more following the male side of the story or you're following more of the female side of the story, but it felt like it was balanced in this case.
Yeah, like when they cut back and forth between her and the funny animal shenanigans and Prince Derek kind of just doing the Chad thing of trying to find his woman, is like doing everything he possibly can because he believes that she's alive. That's honestly pretty romantic.
And even though Odette herself was trapped in a situation, she didn't just sit around the whole time. No. She was trying to find a way to get to Derek.
Yep.
I think if there's one problem with the movie, it's the fact that the rules of the curse are kind of like a bit overcomplicated.
Yeah,
like,
I think some people.
No, he can't.
You can thank Swan Lake for that.
Some people said similar things about the Princess and the Frog. It's like they're making this so convoluted, but it's like, no, in the Princess and the Frog, it's frightfully simple, actually.
Pretty direct.
Like,
yeah, and the Princess and the Frog, it's pretty much like, okay, you have to kiss a princess.
It's even like the stuff that they don't tell you as part of the rules. Like because my brain was, because some people were like, well, why doesn't Charlotte turn into a frog after kissing Naveen? And some people have thought of the reason.
I still question that.
Some people thought of the reason that the curse applied to Tiana's like, well, that's bullshit. No, that doesn't make sense. What does make way more sense is Dr. Facilier is dead when that happens. His hold on the magic is gone.
Yeah.
Okay, going back to this movie before we get into that little rabbit hole.
But yes,
of conspiracy
definitely.
theories,
I feel like they could have really just taken some of the things like. He must make a vow of everlasting love and prove it to the world. That's fine. That's poetic. That's charming. But the whole thing, no, because like here's the thing. I'm looking at it from a fairy tale perspective and reading the rules as like, but I think they do over-explain them. It's like, I'm not going to forget about, like, okay,
really.
She's a swan, there's a lake, there's a moon, she can turn back, but then sunrise, and then there's nothing. It's like, okay, it's that. You know? But I feel like after the first time...
Not sunrise, moon set.
Moon set, right.
Moon and the sun are not in the same schedule.
Right, yeah. Run on different synchroniciums. But yeah, no, because, like... Well, actually, no, it also has to be sunup as well, because the moon can still be risen... in the sky.
I think it was specifically about the moon reflecting off of the lake, because you know the clouds block the lake, so the moon.
Briefly,
he said the moonlight's got to touch your wings. So there you go.
Again, it does seem like they do a pretty good job. I think it's just them repeating it, and like just. I think the one thing in the rules that was. Really, I feel like they couldn't have explained this earlier because it wasn't pertinent information. But I feel like if Odette knew how to break the curse, but Rothbart didn't mention it to us, the audience, then she also probably would have known herself that if he, which she did, because Rothbart didn't say it to her. Actually, maybe he did say it to her face, but the point is that
maybe he did at some point.
The thing about like
you said, it would have seemed too repetitive.
With her dying, I feel like she would probably make a big point. And it would actually be even more poetic if Odette mentioned, but you must make it to only me. If you don't, I'll
maybe
die.
She didn't know that part.
The thing is, if she knew how to break the curse, she probably also knew what would happen if he made the confession to the wrong person, because that's kind of important information. And it kind of just comes...
Yeah, well, the thing with like animation at the time was that you weren't allowed to mention death that often, or at least the main characters weren't allowed to mention death.
That's a different rule for television. A movie
BS on that. They said die at least like 4 times. 5 maybe.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's the reason.
Yeah, no, I feel like the only reason they didn't do it is because, much like them trying to go all out and explaining the rules so that people understand. It's like, it's not so much to, like, over-explain or make it convoluted. They didn't do that on purpose. They tried to just make sure that the audience knew what was going on and that they didn't forget. And I guess for the kids,
I think it was reasonable to show like it during her first transformation from swan to human. Like, yes, and that's how it works. But if you don't want this to happen, you will have to marry me.
Yep. They could have probably.
It's a good time to explain it.
You know, you were cutting down your book to like 7,000 words or so, right? Or 700?
Yes.
7,000. And it's like, it's kind of like that. You
7,000.
gotta take your script and like do a little editing. You gotta carve out some of the useless stuff. Like, we'll rule the kingdom together legally. It's like, yeah, duh, it'll be legal. But then you got a bunch of weird CinemaSins types being like, well, what does it matter about legal? It's like he already said if you steal something, you fight your whole life to keep it. The whole legally thing kind of throws a monkey wrench into the whole poetic way he was doing it. It is very Broadway. It is very Shakespearean the way they're handling this with the dialogue and the musical numbers. It's very nice.
And it's interesting because the ballet does not specify why Rothbart turned her into a swan.
That's true.
But a lot of later ballet interpretations do change it, and one of them being that his intention to marry her.
And that's the thing. It's like, this also kind of follows the Disney formula of like, when you go to the original story, Beauty and the Beast, her father is like, he has to come home because he failed at the market, so he has to come home, and then but he has to stop on the way to be safe from the forest at night. And so he stays in a castle, and food and drink and warm bed is magically given to him, at least to his knowledge. And then he ends up in the garden and he steals a rose, and then the beast is like, how dare you? You stole my rose, you must die. But it's like, for Disney, that doesn't make sense. So instead, we're going to make it so that the rose is like, it's the clock. It's the magical hourglass that'll tell you when your time is up. After this point, like, you'll be stuck like this. And so it not only puts pressure on the beast to do right by, you know, learning to love and be loved and somehow be loved in return, it's also like putting that, you know, it's putting that, why would he be so scared or upset that the rose was being touched at all? And Maurice doesn't even get to the rose. He's just really incensed. They really did turn him into a monster.
Okay, you're going on it. You're on a tangent here.
And in this movie, it is kind of a similar thing. It's like he was like a secret evil sorcerer who was plotting to usurp the throne, and then they kicked him out. And so now he wants his revenge, and his revenge will be that he'll take the throne by the only means that would actually keep him on the throne. It's like,
and don't forget, he said, everything you own, everything you love will be mine. It's also spiteful.
Yeah, because it's like, it's not necessarily that he wants to marry Odette because he likes her. He wants to marry Odette for the political clout. It's like, we could rule together. Of course, I'll be the king, and I'll have, I'll have some more perks, being a man. But it's like, we'll still do it together. Is it so bad?
And it's one last slap to William, like, yes, I told you everything you love. Now I have your daughter. Ha ha.
Yep, and that's...
As if killing him wasn't enough.
That's the other thing, because, like, it's not just about, like, ruling it legally or, like, oh, we'll rule together. It really is all to stick it to the king, and... part of that coming down to, like, the whole marrying the princess is a business transaction, but for Odette, it's about love if she doesn't love him. And, of course, you killed my father, what the fuck? But yeah.
Rothbart's petty. They're always petty in these stories. I mean, Maleficent cursed a baby for not being invited to her christening.
I think
they're just petty.
I think Rothbart is kind of a slightly sillier version of Maleficent. He has that intimidation factor, but he's also a little bit of a goofball. And you only really get that in his musical number. But, it does help characterize him that way, and honestly...
Well, yeah, I mean, he was living in isolation all this time.
I'd
magic stuff up to make it feel like I was king of everything, too.
This dingus was even, like, getting on his knees saying, I'll shave my mustache if I must to make you marry me. It's like, man, this man's desperate, isn't he? He has to marry a swan, goddamn. Anyway, you guys have any other thoughts to share before we wrap things up?
I definitely think, like, this movie is still good, but I think if anything, it kind of needed to be, the storytelling in it kind of needed to be more modernized, because as you said, a lot of this stuff is true to the original play, but what works in an old-timey play doesn't always work in a modern animated feature.
Well,
this movie doesn't completely work. But, I felt like the story could have used a little bit more tweaking here and there.
The problem being that they probably just kept the stuff from the original Swan Lake, and then they added stuff, but they didn't take away stuff.
Did you really want it to be like the original? Did you forget how I said it ended?
Again, the Little Mermaid
right.
died originally. You know that a Disneyfied fairy tale, whether it comes from Disney or anyone else,
it is modern in this sense, at least during this era. That we like to see the happy endings.
It feels like a
don't want people. Yeah, it was. I mean, we'll get the same thing in the Hunchback of Notre Dame. That's what the late '80s and '90s were all about. We're taking these old stories and this is depressing. We don't want this ending. Let's think of a new ending.
Honestly, it really does feel like you took the Disney Princess movie and you took Aladdin. Hercules hadn't come out yet, and you kind of just let's do that, and it by all means is probably the perfect '90s non-Disney Disney movie. Honestly, it really is. I think it's probably one of the best. I mean, there are other ones that people are waking up. It's like I don't get what people were saying about this. No, this is actually good. Like some people were like, "Oh, Thumbelina, it's so quirky, so weird." I was like, but people are really getting behind it because it's quirky and weird. It's just odd, But
Thumbelina is a bit too weird for me.
The VHS sales became popular for a reason. Like some things just came out at the wrong time.
Exactly. And I mean, this movie did so well in the home media, they got a Blu-ray. Not every offbeat Disney knockoff gets a Blu-ray. You can't say that about every single one. Just doesn't happen. All right. But that's going to be it for this evening. Thank you all so much for joining us for this magical and sometimes rather strange musical adventure. If you're viewing this after the fact, thanks for watching. For next week, we're going to watch a movie. It's also about swans. No, it's not actually a Swan Princess sequel, but it is a movie that when I saw it playing at my friend's house, as mentioned before, again, never sat down for it. Hi Radley, you came in a little late, but you can just rewind. You can just rewind the thing. And I saw the ending of this movie where there's a bit of a fake out death. Spoiler alert. And I confused it for a Swan Princess sequel. And when I finally found it years later for free on the Tubi streaming service, I realized, oh, this isn't a Swan Princess sequel.
Yeah.
And it's
the same director though.
Huh. That's interesting.
But you didn't notice?
I mean, I probably could have. I get it, but everyone clap your hands and stomp your feet for Trumpet of the Swan, the 2001 animated feature film? I believe it's 2001. Yeah. Yeah, Trumpet of the Swan. All right.
Y'all Little and the director of Fox and the Hound and The King and I. I'm quoting from the trailer.
So really just everything. Man, he's just Richard Rich was just all over everything, wasn't he?
Yep. In that time, yes.
Yeah.
Richie Rich had a lot.
All right. Well, take care, stay safe, and be kind in all that you do. Good night, everybody!
And read Frank